Now let's get to a movie that Eric and I saw. Eric actually did the interviews with the producers of A Million Miles Away. Hits Prime Video on September 15th. And it's the story, the true story of Jose Fernandez, played by who, Eric Holmes? Who plays Jose Fernandez?
As Michael Peña.
Michael Peña, he has had a varied and excellent career. This is currently, I'm trying to think right off the top of my head. This is my favorite Michael Peña performance. Such an amazing performance. Okay, so Jose Hernandez, he is, quote, the first migrant farm worker to become an astronaut and go to space. So what you're thinking, it comes out on Prime Video, co-stars Rosa Salazar as Jose's wife. And I should have her IMDb, what her name is. I'll look that up in a second, but she's very good in this movie. Peña is good in this movie, and it centers on his life, starting from a child migrant farm worker to an astronaut. That's sort of that's the story. And Michelle Krusiak, she plays the elementary school teacher who inspires Jose Hernandez at an early age to not become an astronaut. Jose already had that dream, but to inspire him to follow his dreams. So you're thinking, okay, this seems like a very predictable, syrupy, feel-good movie kind of thing, and it is a feel-good film, but my goodness, it is so well made. It didn't have to be well made. It could have been just as predictable, just by the numbers film, and it still would have worked, but this goes above and beyond. It is a great film. I think A Million Miles, I teared up several times in this movie. I thought I was blown away by A Million Miles Away. I was going in kind of kicking and screaming before watching. I was saying, okay, another movie that I'm going to watch, predictable, okay, whatever. But I really hope our CinemAddicts audience, listeners, gives A Million Miles Away a shot. Eric, am I overshooting my mark review on A Million Miles Away, or are you on this boat?
No, I think you're right on. The only thing I would push back on is that this movie's absolutely predictable. You could not spoil this movie, but it doesn't matter. When I interviewed the producer, basically I was just reviewing the movie at that point because I loved it so much. It has a melodrama to it. I think what really cements this movie is the relationship between Michael Peña and Rosa Salazar's character. Because as I mentioned,
Adela is a wife. Adela,
yeah,
that's the name.
Jose
yes.
and Adela. As I mentioned with the producers, like normally Adela in a movie like this is a speed bump for the protagonist. That's kind of what it feels like it's starting off as. But she actually, because this spans decades pretty much as the family grows, and Adela and then their children as they get older, it makes it very clear that Jose's journey is not easy on the family. And you get to see how the family kind of comes together and supports Jose in his dream, even though it's hurting him. And so it really helps you kind of lean in and really root for them to get ahead, even though A, it's going to happen, and B, not B, the B would be the family dynamic in this. It's normally just kind of tacked on in movies like this.
It's so interesting.
Actually helps to elevate it. It actually helps you root for him. And Michael Peña is like, he's just a charming screen presence anyway. Like they could have had none of that and you would still want to root for him just because Michael Peña is just comes off as that kind of guy.
We also have to mention though, go ahead.
And then Michelle Krusiak, they had her in there early on. And then when she shows up again at the end.
Is that a spoiler, Eric? Is that a spoiler?
It is.
Is that a spoiler? I'm cutting that out. I'm cutting that out, Eric.
But
you're talking on edited material. But what?
But the producers brought it up in the interview without me even mentioning it, so maybe it's fine.
I would have yelled at the producers too. That was a total spoiler, but we're going to keep it in. The producers kept keeping it in. I'm sorry, it's not my fault.
I won't say what it is, but what when Michelle Krusiak comes back, oh my god, my heart just melted. And this is kind of like a movie that allows you to do that. It allows you to just kind of get into it and feel all the feels that you're going to feel. Spoiler alert, Michael Peña makes it to space. Spoiler alert, everything turns out right. But this isn't a kind of movie that relies on will he or won't he. You're going to feel that anyway, just because of the family dynamics. They're going to get there. It's just a matter of how they get there. And what they say, it's the journey. It's not the destination.
Right. Chairman of the board, Bruce Berkey, your vote. Producers said the spoiler. I'm mad at them. I'm mad at Eric. Do I cut it out or do I keep it in? You're the president. You're the boss. You're the jefe. El jefe. What do you say, Bruce? You're the vote.
This sounds like the kind of spoiler that I will forget. And when I watch
Okay.
the movie, I won't remember that it was a spoiler. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, they did tell me about that. By the time I find out, I'll be like already enjoying the movie.
We're
So,
gonna keep it in,
There's also a bunch of stuff in this that I kind of saw coming a mile away.
of course.
But when it's kind of like when someone tells a joke that you really like. You know the punchline, but you're just so excited to hear them say the joke again. You know,
like my Undino joke, exactly like that, right? Like
exactly,
that.
yeah, exactly.
You made me do another rim shot, Bruce, on
like,
that. How dare you?
like when the emotional thing's about to happen, you know, like they
Yeah,
they show their hand well before they throw it out on the table, so you know what's coming. But then when it happens, it's like, oh, here it comes, and then the thing happens, like, oh, it happened. Oh, I'm so happy, or I'm so sad, happy, or whatever it is. And
yeah. We have to give props to Allah. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
I would say this sounds like the kind of movie, obviously I have not seen it. It sounds like the kind of movie where, like you said, like the things come, you know they're coming, the beats are there, but you're happy that those beats are coming because it's the kind of movie you want them to come.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bruce. Yes. And I will tell you, Bruce, we all three of us, we have a lot of movies we cover every week. And I think one of the complaints that I have for myself is we see so many movies that it's hard to hold on to them for the next week because we're covering more movies. And that's why there's a lot of service with our members of our CinemAddicts Facebook group, just some really great members. And they actually keep us in check, like make us remember the movies that we reviewed the prior weeks, maybe weeks later. So please join our CinemAddicts Facebook group. You know what? I say join our CinemAddicts Facebook group, and I actually asked for some some feedback. I forgot to put the feedbacks in our Google Notes. So members, Peter Beta, Joseph Bridges, I heard your stuff about Ivan Dixon, that filmmaker. You guys, some great members who give us some really great insights. I hope all the members see A Million Miles Away. And because of all the movies that all three of us see every week, this is the one. I think this is the first time I'm going to say this in a while, Bruce. You are in a huge deficit by not watching A Million Miles Away. You couldn't because you're watching 10 movies a week. It's one of those movies that I think you're gonna miss it. And I wanted one more thing before I'm going to throw it to you, Eric. Julio Cesar Cedillo. He's Salvador, the father of Jose. And then also Bobby Soto, who was in The Tax Collector, the lead in The Tax Collector. He plays Beto, the cousin of Jose. Both of these are excellent. So many great performances all across the board. I had no idea how much I would love this movie. Eric, final thoughts on A Million Miles Away.
This is like a good counter programming to I just watch a bunch of bummers or like movies that kind of got me down in the dumps. This is a movie that's gonna kind of lift you up a bit. This is kind of the palate cleanser that I think people need for a lot of movies. Completely predictable, very melodramatic, and
Emotional.
the movie knows it, emotional, but the movie knows it, and it kind of leans into that, and it does it extremely well. Rosa Salazar's character, Rosa Salazar is great in this. Michael Peña obviously is great. Their relationship is wonderful and kind of carries this movie. Of course, anything Michelle Cruzak's in, I'm gonna watch. So yeah,
she's a good filmmaker, very good filmmaker, right?
And she's got another one coming out, Tiger Mom. I think she wrote it and probably acting it. I don't know, but definitely keep an eye out for that. But A Million Miles Away, all the science stuff is there that I'm really interested. All the emotional family drama, melodramas in there that I really respond to. This might be a movie that some people watch. It's like, oh, it's predictable. Oh, it's saccharine, whatever. This is not going to be your movie, but
it's really well made in that genre. It's such a well made movie.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I was also talking to the producer. We talked about Miracle. That's a perfect movie to compare to this one because it's the movie. You know how it's going to end. You know how the beats are going to play out, but it's so comforting and makes you feel good watching it. I really loved A Million Miles Away.
Before you give your rating, Eric Holmes, how many times did you almost cry in this movie? For me, it was twice. What about you?
I almost cried 0 times. I did cry about 5 or 6 times.
Look, Bruce, maybe I think I might have cried 10 times. Does that make me less of a man than Eric Holmes in general?
Yes, less of a man.
I cried 69
And
times. Beat that.
And third rim shot on this one. Thanks,
But
Bruce. What? Very good, Eric Holmes, for that. Just yeah, you are a strong human being. Well, I'm gonna give my rating first. 5 stars. 5 star. I'm sorry, 5 stars and a million miles away. I don't know, Eric. I top that one. I'm telling you, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I kind of want to give it 5 stars, and in my heart, I want to, but this seems like a 3-star banger because this is like one of those type of movies that if you're into these type of movies, this is like one of the like top tier of this type of movie. If you're not, you're gonna watch this movie with your arms crossed and I don't like this. So, but oh god, it felt so good watching this.
Yes,
and I'll go 5 stars on this too. I really loved it. Like this is a movie I could watch over and over again.
And Bruce Berkey, he gives it 3 rim shots, or a future 5-star banger, Bruce, possibly, or possible.
Maybe, I don't know.
This gave me the same feeling I got from watching Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. But I think
yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I hate to say it, I prefer this movie to Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. That's how much I love A Million Miles Away. Let's see if I'm wrong. Let's see if Eric's wrong. Let us, cinematic listeners, or in Bruce Berkey, maybe whenever you have time, tell us what you guys think of A Million Miles Away.